everyone. Microphone is working, yes. I hope everyone is well. Welcome to the CannaTrade exhibition 2023. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Thomas Baer. I'm the father of 3 children, founding partner of several companies in different industries, so not only cannabis, but my passion, of course, lies in cannabis. Today, it's my great honor and pleasure to talk to you in my function as President of the Board of Hanf, the main national association of the Swiss cannabis industry. We represent our approximately 130 members in politics and before public authorities and the general public. I was asked to hold today's speech in English, which of course I will gladly do, and it illustrates that the internationalization of our industry is advancing at full throttle. I was born and raised in Zurich and first came into contact with cannabis in the very early 90s, just about 30 years ago. A time when, thanks to a loophole in the law, it used to be totally normal to buy a Haschthaler in the old city of Bern or a Hanfblume in the Zurich Niederdorf, the infamous Hanfläderli era. At the time, Switzerland used to have one of the most liberal and progressive approaches to cannabis in the entire world. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the system of the 90s was perfect, and in no way I am advocating the consumption of free trade of cannabis products, but what I can tell you for sure is that the current situation of cannabis in society is by far worse than it used to be back then. In the 90s, for example, there was absolutely zero risk of inhaling any chemicals which were applied to legally produce CBD sold as THC flower on the black market, for example. With the Hanfläderlis, there was also no need to interact with shady dealers on the street corners, which besides supplying cannabis could be offering a wide range of other harmful substances and giving cannabis the reputation of a starter drug. The shop owners used to voluntarily conduct age verifications via ID check, even though it was not legally binding. Common sense, gesunder Menschenverstand seemed to be the policy when it came to cannabis in society. Of course, it was only a matter of time until the obvious problems started to arise. According to reports, some of our French, German and Italian neighbours started visiting Switzerland and returning to their home countries with car trunks full of finest Swiss organic hemp plants. Shortly after being criticised by its neighbouring countries for Switzerland's liberal approach handling cannabis, the loophole in the law was closed, following a long era of prohibition. Never would I have imagined that it would take this long to implement concepts such as medical cannabis legislation or the pilot trials. But as we tend to say in German, lieber spät als nie, and rather late than never. Although it's been a long way, finally we have come to the tipping point and cannabis is being granted the status in society it deserves. So let me run you through the current status of cannabis regulation in Switzerland and the position of IG Hanf. The current state of cannabis regulation when it comes to CBD and the commercial hemp market. We have achieved that cannabis resin or hash up to 1% has been allowed. Previously was listed as a narcotic, even if it had 0% THC, which totally didn't make any sense. This was implemented at the same time the medical cannabis laws were enacted 1st August 2022. Then Czech Republic have followed Switzerland with the 1% THC approach. So our market advance is slowly fading with respect to the 1% limit. We also had some negative impacts. Last year, the government issued an ordinance regarding CBD oil sold as chemicals, and for some companies this meant up to 2/3 of their revenues dropped away, and many companies even went bankrupt in Switzerland due to this. So this was actually negative. Then the current state of the THC regulation. We have started pioneering the Basel City pilot project, Weed Care, in April, I believe, which will be followed from August onwards by Zurich, Geneva, Lausanne, Lucerne, Bern, Biel, and Basel-Land. The medical market keeps developing step by step. Medicinal hemp extracts and flowers are available in Swiss pharmacies, and doctors have started prescribing. The parliamentary initiative Siegenthaler and other political efforts to regulate cannabis are ongoing. IG Hanf remains very active on this topic. Prohibition of cannabis is not a regulatory model for the future. The industrial use of hemp must be reclaimed in all market segments: food, lifestyle and care products, recreational and medical use. A new interpretation and adoption of the international treaties is overdue after more than 60 years of single convention on narcotic drugs. What are the challenges for a successful cannabis regulation? Conflicts with international law. We can see this as many countries want to legalize, try to legalize, but then due to realizing that the international framework does not allow this, they step back and come up with concepts which are not as progressive as we would wish to be. A big challenge is also how do we win majorities for the regulation of cannabis in Switzerland and elsewhere. Why comprehensive regulation is the better option for society? With prohibition, unnecessary resources are tied up in law enforcement instead of creation of tax revenue and new jobs. Health hazards for consumers due to lack of quality control on the black market. Psychoactive synthetic cannabinoids and cannabinoid mimetica are increasingly found on the black market. Yeah, I think this illustrates the problem quite well. The Wundertüte full of synthetic cannabinoids. IG Hanf's position on cannabis regulation is reasonable cannabis regulation is the basis for consumer protection, quality control, as well as the sustainable development of the local industry in Switzerland. Only a rational cannabis regulation will strengthen youth and health protection. The downside of non-for-profit models. Without economic incentives, we believe it will be very hard to develop a professional industry. The total ban on the traffic of cannabis should be removed. In principle, all non-medical cannabis that is produced, traded and consumed in Switzerland should be regulated by a cannabis law. IG Hanf considers to include other cannabinoids in addition to the psychoactive and currently illegal THC. So this also refers to the problem with synthetic cannabinoids and or the fact that, for example, CBD can be converted into other psychoactive cannabinoids in rather easy, simple steps. So this should create clear guidelines for non-medical cannabis. A new control system for non-medical narcotics should be established in the Narcotics Control Ordinance. So we are not saying, as Germany, for example, has suggested, to remove cannabis completely as a narcotic, but it may be still or should be listed as a narcotic, but reclassified. Then introduction of a non-medical cannabis agency to issue permits for the cultivation, processing and sale of cannabis products and to check and ensure compliance with the legal framework. Then the implementation of the objectives of the Cannabis Consensus, protect and control model. I think there's some more on that subject later on. Only natural cannabis products should become legally accessible. Fully synthetic and psychotropic cannabinoids should not be made available to end users for recreational purposes. Clear quality standards and contaminant limits must be defined for all cannabis products. IG Hanf has created the necessary basis with the quality label Swiss Certified Cannabis. Binding rules and instruments should be created so that imports can be restricted if demand can be covered by the domestic market participants. So we would not be in favor of imports of cannabis for non-medical purpose as a narcotic. IG Hanf is in favor of private specialized shops that can be profit-oriented or should be profit-oriented, but are subject to advertising restrictions. Producers, processors, traders and sales outlets must have the necessary licenses and permits. The cultivation of 6 plants per person should be possible without a permit. The sale by private individuals is prohibited. This is back to the Cannabis Consensus. This is a group which was founded, I think, in 2018 as a Swiss association, or even 2017, where IG Hanf was basically in the lead, and the goal was to bring parties from different sectors to one table. So we had the addiction members from the addiction societies, we had political party representatives, and the IG Hanf, where we all sat at the table and kind of came to a consensus of how a cannabis regulation could look like. And this was actually the basis for the parliamentary initiative of Heinz Siegenthaler, which is currently in the Subkommission of the Swiss National Parliament. The model actually respects the goals of public health while allowing the development of a sustainable and responsible local Swiss cannabis economy, so protecting the population and market control and regulation. So we will protect vulnerable groups such as minors, promoting low-risk use, minimizing potential harm from cannabis use, control and regulation of the market, ensure that the market follows clear rules, that the authorities have the necessary tools to regulate it, and that a fair share of the revenue goes to flanking measures. The key elements for rational cannabis regulations are effective youth and health protection, compliance with the high quality standards, restriction of advertising opportunities, taxation of products according to their risk profile, promotion of low-risk forms of consumption such as oral ingestion or vaporization, consumer information and distribution in specialized shops. In addition, it's essential to protect the Swiss market, to establish a state cannabis agency to control the non-medical cannabis market, a rational legal implementation, not only THC but also other cannabinoids should be regulated. We see this also in the US where this hasn't been done, and it's a big mess basically. And then implementation of strong sanctions for illegal trade or abuse of licenses. This is it actually. Who's not yet a member, I will kindly invite everyone who is interested to become a member of IG Hanf. You profit from our strong network. You also get a discount for the Swiss Certified Cannabis Quality label, gateway to authorities, politics and media, regular information, by newsletters, etc. We even now have a legal advisor who, when you have any legal issues, topics to be solved, you can contact Lucas, who is sitting right here. Maybe I can introduce you quickly, and maybe Lucas, you can get up quickly. Lucas Brunner, he's joined IG Hanf a couple of months ago. He's ausgebildeter Jurist, so legal advisor of IG Hanf, and I think a big asset to our association. And then Tom, please, also, our managing secretary, also since many years. Thank you very much for all your good work, and also preparing this great presentation. Thank you. Yes, okay. Yes, so we also have working groups which are also organized, so the different topics. This could be politics or legal, regulatory topics, so you could also, when you remember, join these working groups and be informed and actually proactively also help moving things. I think that's the end. Yes, are there any questions? Thank you very much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it.